It's our top story tonight because it involves one of the most powerful men in India today.
अमित शाह की बेटी जय शाह आज उस वेबसाइट के खिलाफ 100 करोड़ की मानहानि का केस।
Jay Shah's fortune rose 16,000 times after the BJP came to power.
There is a sense of outrage at the shrinking space for a free media in our country.
Hello, I'm Richard Gisbert, and you're at The Listening Post. Here are some of the media stories we're tracking this week. Running scared. More and more Indian news outlets are shying away from stories the Prime Minister would disapprove of. On the U.S. media and the Harvey Weinstein story, what took you so long? The NFL loves a man in a uniform. We look at the league's relationship with the Pentagon. And let's call the American NRA what it really is: nonsensical rifle addiction.
People who suffer from NRA have a big impact on their environment.
Sometimes the reaction to a news story can tell you more about the state of politics in a given country and the state of the media there than the actual story itself. That's what happened in India this past week. A news website, The Wire, reported on the finances of J. Amit Shah, the son of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's right-hand man, Amit Shah. The story tracked a sudden and exponential jump in the revenues of J. Amit Shah's businesses after Modi came to power in 2014. Modi loyalists have called the article a hit job. Others called it strong adversarial journalism. More telling, though, has been the silence of much of the Indian mainstream media. Apart from a few newspapers and 2 news channels, most of the country's major news outlets stayed away from the story. And that was before J. Amit Shah took The Wire to court. His $15 million lawsuit has served as a warning to other media outlets that they can expect the same treatment if they go there. Threats of legal action or much worse are something that Indian reporters are having to contend with more and more often, a state of journalistic affairs that the Prime Minister seems to tolerate, at least tacitly. Our starting point this week is New Delhi. On the coverage of the J. Amit Shah story, the opposition spokesperson said he knew what was coming and what wasn't.
कुछ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक चैनल्स को और कुछ लोगों को ये इंस्ट्रक्शंस मिली हैं कि ये जो मैं प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहा हूँ उसको अपनी चैनल्स पे नहीं दिखाना.
I've never seen a politician in India begging a media group that's assembled there to cover the press conference to actually show it.
मैं उनसे आग्रह करूँगा, खास तौर पे चैनल्स को, कि आप ऐसा मत कीजिए. ये भविष्य के लिए ठीक नहीं है.
The fact is, there is a very, very large section of the media in India, both the print medium as well as the electronic medium, which is beholden to those who are in positions of power and authority.
But what was interesting is when the government and the political party put its minister to defend.
And absolutely false, baseless,
everybody covered it.
Malicious, derogatory, defamatory, and hollow article.
The news article the minister was refuting touches on Narendra Modi's inner circle. J. Amit Shah is the son of the Prime Minister's closest advisor. The story smacks of crony capitalism, an issue Modi has used against his political opponents. The investigative report documents the astonishing rise in Shah's business fortunes in the year following Modi's election and the sudden, mysterious closing 1 year later of the company in question. It was published by The Wire, one of India's relatively new online news sites that offer an alternative to the corporate mainstream media, and authored by Rohini Singh.
This piece has been taken entirely, it's based entirely from government records, filings done by Mr. Jay Shah and his companies with the Registrar of Companies. I find it a little strange when people say it's baseless, because if this piece is baseless, then that's like saying government records are baseless.
Roughly 10 hours after Singh's piece went online, that evening's newscasts were beamed out. India has dozens of national news channels, but only 2 of them, NDTV and ABP, led with the story.
The golden touch of J. Amit Shah.
The others either ignored it or buried it deep in their programs. India Today led with a debate on a Hindu festival.
And if some women make the choice to fast for their husband, who are we to object?
Other channels, like Z News, began with footage handed to them by the Indian Ministry of Defense.
और इन दोनों वीडियोस में रक्षा मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमण चीन के सैनिकों से बातचीत करती हुई दिख रही हैं.
When we asked Z News' editor-in-chief to assess the merits of the Wire story on Shah, he seemed more interested in who broke the story than what it said.
I really don't know. I haven't checked the facts. I haven't checked the documents. I also don't know about the exact motive behind the story, because all these struggling websites, what they want is, they want readership. They want instant fame. They want instant eyeballs. Now, how do they get eyeballs? For that, you have to target somebody big. Even if it's a half-baked journalism, it's a half-baked investigation.
Some Indian newspapers, where political scandals are usually a stock in trade, were also strangely indifferent to the story. Even The Hindu, a liberal paper, put it on page 10. And all of that came before J. Amit Shah slapped the Wire with a multi-million-dollar lawsuit for defamation and explicitly warned other media outlets off the story.
That the media is not reacting speaks volumes about where we are. It is a character assassination of journalists that we see happening over a period of time. Wire has already been labeled a leftist organization, and the media should have torn into J. Amit Shah's notice of defamation, because if this is not a threat to the media, then nothing else is.
There's a legal term to describe attempts made by important individuals to intimidate those who publish, write, speak anything critical about them. These are often described as slaps, strategic litigation against public participation. The whole idea is to embroil journalists or anybody who's critical in legal cases. It's expensive to hire lawyers. Lawsuits can drag on for years. You send a message to the others that don't mess around with me. The long arm of the law can be really long. It has a chilling effect.
As chilling or worse is the abuse Indian journalists get on social media. It's an extraordinarily hostile world where reporters are not just criticized but routinely threatened. Those threats can prove real. Gauri Lankesh was getting them. She edited a weekly paper near Bangalore and was critical of the kind of Hindu nationalism espoused by Prime Minister Modi and his party, the BJP. She was shot and killed last month. Some of the self-proclaimed nationalists who subsequently celebrated her murder did so on Twitter, on accounts the Prime Minister followed and still does.
Slander is one of the first things that happen. You're called names. Many times you get death threats. I have got death threats, gang rape threats, and all kinds of sexual violent threats. So this is part of a normal backlash that happens every time you do a critical story. When a minister in the government calls you prostitute, it doesn't help.
If you look at the kind of language that is used on social media, especially against women journalists bear the brunt of it, they bear the worst of it, the kind of slander campaigns that are carried out. And there seems to be no signal really from anyone in this government that they wouldn't tolerate that kind of discourse. So when the BJP says that, oh, you know, that has nothing to do with us, I really doubt it.
It is difficult to say how or why news outlets choose the stories they cover. Harder still to know why they choose not to cover something.
Why did Z not report about this story on the very first day? I was not convinced about the investigation and why this story is happening at this particular point of time.
Whether they fear the party in power, litigators for hire, or the trolls who support the powers that be, sometimes ignoring a news story can seem like the easy way out. However, in journalism, the path of least resistance often leads to big trouble down the road.
The Indian media does not realize, especially those who are towing the line of the government, do not realize that what is happening to their counterparts today could happen to them tomorrow. Just because it has happened to one website or one editor does not mean it will not happen to them tomorrow. But there will be a day when they will realize their folly.